Remember how much fun we had talking about everything wrong with Batman?
Yeah?
You don't need to yell about it.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really was. You want to talk about everything wrong with the rest of the DCEU?
Yeah! Let's do it! Do it! Just do it!
Welcome everybody to Tex-Mex Nerd Feed.
I'm Tex.
And I'm Mex.
Today we're going to be discussing everything wrong with the DCEU, so strap in.
This is going to be another one of our unscripted discussions in which we kind of give our opinions on certain things. We are going to be trying to take it in a chronological order, so we will start with Man of Steel and end with Shazam. And we are going to try to keep it short and simple, just kind of picking out things that they did wrong.
Trying is the key word.
And we will probably mention for context things that they did right because I guess
kudos.
Yeah, I guess they have to do something right at some point. So casting decision for Man of Steel was probably the best thing they did.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead.
You really gotta start with that?
So we're going to dive right on into it, and we will start with Man of Steel.
Probably the best decision, like you said about this, was making Henry Cavill Superman.
So as you said, Henry Cavill was probably the best decision in regards to Man of Steel. The casting decision was amazing, and I think he was the only one that was accepted by fans since Christopher Reeves.
True.
Because everybody was so dead set on Christopher Reeves has to be Superman. He is the one and only. So he was the first one that was actually accepted, and I think he was just a very good choice for the role. Mm-hmm. That being said, his writing and direction was a bit off.
A little dark.
Yeah. And I think, I understand that DC has that mentality that they have to be dark and serious all the time. For me, I feel like it use the specific characters that represent that kind of theme.
Like Batman. Superman's supposed to be the bright and light one to show everything. He doesn't have to be so gritty.
Yeah. We as DC fans enjoy the contrast and different characters that the company has developed, so we don't all just want a bunch of different Batman movies just in different costumes.
I feel like the main point of where they pull that from is their success with the Dark Knight trilogy. That was so dark and gritty, so maybe that's their claim to fame, is dark and grit.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of mindset that they have. But in reality, you can't do that for everything.
True.
So let's say that because Disney owns Marvel, that it's like, oh, well, this animated princess movie, that got us to where we are now. So every superhero from this point out that we make a movie about is just going to be an animated princess movie.
Right. It doesn't work out for everything.
Yeah, there's a reason why we all want to watch different movies. It's because we want to watch a different movie.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like they're following in Marvel's success by trying to add some comedy and brightness into it. That's just good movie design.
Yeah, exactly. People think that that's DC's biggest problem, is that they try to be too much like Marvel. And to me, it's that they try to copy Marvel's success without actually copying their plan, their timeline.
Right.
So, as you said, it being as dark and gritty as it is, it was just not good. I did like Henry Cavill as Superman, but it was just a bit off with the writing.
The entirety of it. Like, to a point, I can understand that Superman's just gaining his powers. He doesn't know how to use them yet. But he's always been about bettering people and helping people. So usually you wouldn't take the first evil person you see and run him through a crowded gas station.
Yeah, right. So it's one of those things in which you just kind of have to know where to go with him. So maybe you start out with running him through that gas station, but he just kind of starts to get that feel for what kind of a person he wants to be as he grows.
Even so, like, he's Superman. I imagine anybody that wants to fight for the betterment of anybody wouldn't run somebody through a crowded gas station and exploding it in the meantime.
It's like the equivalent of when you're in Outworld in Mortal Kombat and you have that old lady sitting there and you use her to smash somebody in the face.
Well, sure,
like if
but everybody's going to do that.
Well, yeah. But if Superman just comes up and he's just like, he just sees a random person and throws that person at the bad guy. He's fighting the bad guy, but he's not doing it the right way. So yeah, I can definitely see that.
So he trashed Smallville.
Yeah,
completely.
Breaking Zod's neck was another decision that's
very poor.
I would say that obviously kryptonite and magic are weaknesses of Superman, but one of his other weaknesses, which Batman says it in, I think it was Hush, that if Clark wanted to, he could fly up into space and lobotomize me from there or something like that. He says, but I know he won't because in the end he's a good guy,
right? And
in the end I'm not. So that's what makes Clark stand out. That's one of his weaknesses. That's what brings him to a humane level, is his caring for other people and protection. Yeah.
So they're trying to push it off as that was the only way, and I just don't see that.
No.
I don't understand why Zod was more powerful than Superman when he just figured out he had powers.
They kind of threw like the explanation in there, but I thought it was weak. It was a weak explanation. Like he was designed to be a warrior and to hone his skills, so that means that he automatically, I mean, obviously it took him a little while, but he definitely honed his skills a lot quicker than what Clark did. But so you want to move on to the next one, which is Batman versus Superman, correct?
Yes, another poor plot.
So, see, I thought the plot was good. If you watch the director's cut,
it makes a little bit more sense, sure.
You see that everything is being manipulated by Lex, and then Lex still has a backup plan. He has a plan B in case it doesn't go the way he wants.
The movie was good all the way up until Martha.
No, that was a good part.
Okay.
Everybody hates that part. So yeah, I enjoyed that part. A lot of people talk crap on it because it's just like, oh, you say a word and I'm automatically best friends with you. Like Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not that that's what it was. So let me explain this right now. The whole reason Batman was going after Superman was because he thought that he was just an alien. And in that, he was alienated from humanity. Therefore, he was a danger to humanity. So he was just trying to neutralize the threat to the Earth, to mankind. But then, as Superman says, hey, my mom is dying, save my mom, Batman doesn't really connect. Wait, did he say save my mom?
He said save Martha.
Yeah, he says save Martha, and Batman doesn't connect with Superman until he finds out that he has a mother. He has a human mother. So he just kind of, instead of seeing him as just an alien that is a threat to all of Earth, he then sees him as what he actually is, a person. He has feelings. He is humane in his own sense.
Plot design makes sense, but on Superman's deathbed, to this stranger that he had just met and is about to die from, why would he say save Martha?
What would he say alternatively?
Well, A, who's Martha to this stranger? How's he gonna know? And he's killing him. Why would he care?
Why would Batman
save my
care?
Mom?
Oh, okay.
Or like he's never called her Martha before.
He had a big metal boot in his neck. He couldn't really sit down and be like, "Hey, I have to tell you that my mother's name is Martha, and he is and Lex."
But how many Marthas are in Metropolis or Gotham?
Oh, that's
almost two less, I suppose.
That's true. That's a good point. But I actually wonder what that was, like why they went straight with that and they couldn't just say, "Hey, save my mom."
Well, because Martha's Batman's mom's name too.
Yeah, but they could have let into it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where you're coming from. It's like, it was a good idea. It wasn't executed correctly. Yeah. So, I can definitely agree with that point. So, another big thing with Batman vs. Superman that they did with Man of Steel was give it that dark tone.
Yeah.
For Batman's side of things, I could definitely see that. for Superman's side of things, you shouldn't make him dark and brooding like that. You should make him. You should make them contrast, because that's the whole point of any Batman versus Superman story that comes about, is the contrast. So they could have easily done that, but instead it was Batman with a black cape versus Batman with a red cape. And then we go to
ripping the roof off the Batmobile, being all threatening.
And then you go to the very big problem with that movie.
Big.
Which was the decision to make unwarranted and unwanted changes.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Doomsday was a flop. Nobody liked Doomsday.
Mistake.
And I think that Doomsday could, if the writing was correct and the portrayal of Doomsday was correct, it would have been a lot easier to handle. You know what I mean? If it wasn't such a piece of crap character, if it was the actual Doomsday that we know from the comics and animated series, maybe it would have been okay, especially if you're leaning into the death of Superman.
Right.
So,
which was entirely unnecessary in that movie anyway. Like, it's his second movie ever. He didn't need to die.
Yeah. If they would have drawn out the death a little bit longer, if they would have... Like I said, they wanted Marvel's success without actually being like Marvel, without
they try to jump into
trying to span it out several movies. They just went, he's dead in this movie, he's alive in the very next.
Yeah.
Well, not counting Wonder Woman, but he's alive in the very next.
Yeah, that's only because of Whedon.
Yeah. So I can see that they have that story that they're going from, like, okay, they're at odds with each other.
True.
They're fighting, and then they come together for a bigger force. It's enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of situation, and that could easily become the case, and they have to fight Doomsday. That is what happened, but it could have been if they had written Doomsday a lot better rather than being
either written Doomsday a lot better,
Lex hybrid.
Yeah, or they could have just completely left it out and put Lex in the Iron Man-ish suit that he has occasionally. So
they didn't need Doomsday. If they were dead set, we need Doomsday, then if they would have done him right, I think it would have been okay. But as you said, I think
they made Shrek gray and powerful.
Yeah, I think that if they had just kind of played on Lex's backup plan being his suit of armor with kryptonite in it.
Yeah, because Lex always trips over kryptonite.
Yeah. But, like, it's just poor decisions in regards to writing. It was not good. And then just the character of Doomsday. People want to take these creative liberties, and they...
Mostly DC wants to take the creative liberties.
Yeah.
With everything they do.
And it's... I don't understand how long it's going to take them to learn that it doesn't go as well as they want. So you have Justice League that takes the majority of the creative liberty, and as you said, that's Joss Whedon's
there's a lot of his problem. I think the Zack Snyder cut apparently does still exist of the movie.
Yeah,
hopefully that'll happen at some point, but Joss Whedon tore that up.
Yeah, I saw a thing on Facebook where it was essentially like an interview with the rest of the cast from Justice League, and they said the Zack Snyder cut exists. If he recorded everything that he wanted to, it's out there. It's just a matter of whether Warner Brothers will let us show it. And like everybody says, like, it's unfortunate that like such a great movie got dumbed down. So there were too many hands in the pot for that movie, and you can see that it's like they were playing tug of war with itself.
Yeah.
It was pulling this direction, but yet it also wanted to pull that direction. It wanted to be comedic. But I feel like they could have been a little bit more successful had they done their homework, knew what the characters were. I think that's the thing. They know of the characters. They don't know the characters.
Yeah.
And so they try to make the characters what they have in their mind. Yeah. So you have Batman who's cracking jokes, and
Cyborg's dark and brooding.
Yeah, and you have Aquaman who's like looks like a college jock, frat boy, yeah. And you have Ezra Miller. You have Flash Barry Allen, who's just a dumb kid. That's essentially all he is. So you have these people who just kind of change the characters. You already have characters established in the comic books and personalities. So why would you go and make Batman a jokester and make Cyborg serious when you can make Cyborg the jokester or the Flash the jokester and make Aquaman and Batman serious? They just messed up the characters. The writing and direction again was just way off from where it should be.
Yeah.
The plot itself wasn't that bad. They were leaning into like a dark side, like
Trying
reveal.
to get towards dark side, yeah.
So they were kind of taking their time with that, but they should have taken their time with the entire movie.
Yeah.
They should have established the characters prior to, as we said before, with the Marvel and DC comparison. Marvel, they took 5 movies before they released their big team-up movie.
The majority of the team's origin stories.
It took
3.
DC 3. And
they only did 2 origins before that. Or did the Man of Steel and Wonder Woman before that, and they just kind of threw Batman into BVS.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not as if nobody knows Batman's origin by now with like 50 reboots, but
still.
Thomas and Martha have gotten shot about 50 times in the past.
Which brings us to a topic that we forgot, Wonder Woman.
So I think it's easy for us to skip over Wonder Woman for the fact that we mostly talk about stuff we don't like and bad things.
Wonder Woman was good. And the only thing I did not like about Wonder Woman was...
Tinfoil Man.
Tinfoil Man?
Ares.
Yeah.
He looks like he's made of like a tinfoil or something.
Yeah,
like his suit.
Just that mustache. That prevalent mustache. That big British mustache underneath the armor just looked dumb to me.
I didn't think that the armor looked all that great, but it was... I remember I was like okay with it, but it wasn't anything close to being like what you get in the comics. So we get back to the discussion of changes that people have to make that just aren't good. The only thing that sticks out to us is the fact that they changed Ares and the way he looks. Instead of looking like a god of war, he looks like a British man with a mustache who found some tinfoil.
Yeah.
And just kind
Made
of
himself an armor.
Yeah, he just kind of like wrapped it around his head and he's like, hey, I'm the god of war. But I thought that the writing was really good. That was how you do a feminist movie. Give the female the limelight. She's badass. She is amazing.
It was a great movie in general.
Yeah. So we'll go into Aquaman. So my second time around, I did not enjoy it as much as the first because the first time I had goosebumps the entire film. The second one, I only had them at select points. You were the other way.
I watched it the second time and just lost interest in it entirely. I thought the plot was just shoddy.
How so?
The just explaining plot points through most of it.
What do you mean?
Every time there's a serious conversation, there's an explosion and a fight.
Oh, well, that was your problem the first go around too.
Still, it bugged me even more watching it the second time and knowing it was coming.
Okay, that does make sense. I didn't even notice it. I didn't pick up on it the second time. I remember you mentioned it, and I said, hey, the second time I watch it, I'll see if I pick up on it. I still didn't pick up on it. It's just, they need to keep it going. Obviously, they're being hunted, so...
Well, yeah, but I mean, it starts off with his mom and dad in their lighthouse. They're talking, it's a nice moment. The walls blow up, she pushes him out of the way, ducks under one fire, and takes out that guy, and then takes out the rest. The next time, they're... What's the next time? They're underwater. They're having their big meeting with Orm and Dolph Lundgren. I can't remember who he played. They're
King
talking.
Something. I can't remember.
Then the submarine comes out, blows something up. Somebody shoots at Dolph Lundgren. He ducks, takes one out, then takes the rest of them out. Then they're, where's the next one then? They're in Italy. They're having this nice moment, touching. Aquaman eats a rose.
Aquaman eats a rose.
Then they're having this nice moment. Explosion. Someone shoots at Mara. She ducks. Takes out that person. Hits the rest of them. It's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I still didn't pick up on that, even after you mentioning it. So
the conveniency of the movie bothers me as well. That Orm just happened to find Black Manta, knowing he wants revenge. Why? And Black Manta just happens to find them in Italy. How? Then they just walking through the desert, and Aquaman falls into the ruins.
All right, so Orm didn't find a Black Manta because of the vengeance. Black Manta was in that situation because Orm found him, and then it was because of that situation that he has the vengeance. He wouldn't have been on that carrier stealing that submarine if it hadn't been for Orm putting him up to it. That's why the submarine exploded that conversation.
Oh, was that?
Yeah, it was a plot, or it was Orm's plot to kind of convince the rest of the kings to join him in waging war on the surface dwellers. So,
but the submarine kind of got completely taken out, didn't it?
That's why it was completely destroyed. That's why Orm was like, "What's with that submarine? It barely looked operational." And then Black Manta was like, "Well, that was from your guy."
I didn't catch that on.
And then he gave payment, and he said something like, "I don't want payment. I want Aquaman." Something like that. And what was the other thing you mentioned? The convenience?
Him finding him in Italy.
Him finding them in Italy was Orm's present, the wristband. This is my mom's. It was actually a tracker. That's why she smashed it. Convenience of where they are at and how they got to Italy.
From the Western Sahara to Italy. Yeah. These Aquan-based creatures managed to find their way through the middle of the desert.
Wasn't the western part of the Sahara where the airport was? So maybe they flew eastern. Maybe that's why they're on the plane, so they didn't have to walk through the desert. They flew in the thing because, like you said, they're aqua-based.
Yeah, I'm talking about after they found the temple, and then
which we don't know where the temple was.
Underground somewhere in the Saharan Desert.
Yeah, but where were they flying? What direction were they flying? If they were at a western airport, maybe they were flying like northeastern, because if it's the Lost Kingdom, then it was obviously before the
Sahara Desert was
Kingdom.
Part
that
of
was
the ocean.
That was part of the ocean. So I'm assuming it's towards the northern border. If it's towards the northern border, then that means they were near the water source between Africa and Europe anyway. So they'd really just quick swim to Italy.
They stopped to make it across the desert. Where they were walking, it didn't look too much like
there was land somewhere.
Close to water.
I don't know. I'm not Atlantean. I don't know what kind of navigational sense they have. But she also had that thing to find where that kingdom was, so maybe they used that as well. Was it just a compass? It's just a kingdom compass?
A kingdom compass. Maybe we can find it.
It's just a very convenient plot device.
It's Jack Sparrow's compass.
I don't know what that means.
You ever watch Pirates of the Caribbean?
No.
That points to whatever he wants.
Oh shit. That's nice. But so I can definitely agree with that convenience of that part. But in reality, if you are reading the comic in which that movie is based off of, they take creative liberties that are good. The rest of it is essentially exactly the same.
Okay. So
they don't take hardcore, or they don't make hardcore changes in regards to characters or essentially characters. That's essentially it. Or like the feeling, the theme of the movie, to try to make it their own, because that's where obviously Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman went wrong, and Justice League. So here they stick closer to the source material, and guess what? It's one of their most popular movies, and it is definitely by far one of their best. So there isn't much wrong with Aquaman except for the things that you pointed out, which can be kind of figured out after a little while, like the convenience, but then again you also have the explosion thing that I do know what scenes you're talking about. It's just that I didn't pick up on it while watching it, so it obviously does exist. So we'll go into Shazam now.
which we've already done a review on. You can check that. I'm sure we'll link it in the description below.
It's an in-depth review.
In-depth.
So it's an hour long. So we will try to just kind of pick out the things that we did not like, that we think that they did wrong. And guess what? It has to do with changes and variations from the source material.
Yes, making Sivana the main villain is probably the worst part, as they completely destroyed the character. He did not show his vast intellect, nor the only power that he actually does have, seeing magic, he can't do.
Instead, his all-seeing magic eye ended up being a
harbor place for the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah. It was just a container to hold the 7 deadly sins. And guess what? They changed the 7 deadly sins as well,
drastically,
which was not good.
It's a poor design for all of them.
It just seems like they just kind of went through it very quickly.
Yeah.
They just did it just to do it. Now, in our What to Expect in Shazam video, we discussed the New 52 origins of Shazam, in which the 7 deadly sins are there, but it is also the fact that the main antagonist is Black Adam
instead of Dr. Sivana, which they pretty much gave him Black Adam's powers anyway. For no reason.
There's no explanation as to why the sins possess the powers of Black Adam or the champion of the living lightning, but apparently they do. And the dynamic between Billy and Freddy was amazing. The dynamic between the rest of the Foster family was amazing. Guess what? They got that right. They stuck to the comics.
Yep.
So the representation of Shazam's powers was great. Guess what? They stuck to the source material. The one part that kind of made us mad immediately, like 2 minutes in, was the origin story of Sivana. Guess what? It was crap, and do you want to know why?
They didn't stick to the source material.
Yeah.
Go figure.
So we also have a glimpse of Black Adam. It was just a little hologram type thing from the Wizard Shazam, and he explains that he made a champion of the living lightning that was just went bad and released the 7 deadly sins on man. And they don't, like, that's not the origin of Black Adam, so
they're twisting that again.
It's either somebody else, so there's another deviation from the comics, or it's Black Adam and it's not the actual origin story of Black Adam, so they deviated from the comics again.
Yep.
Guess what wasn't good? That. Because they deviated from the comics again. So it seems that when it comes to DC, every time they deviate from the comics and the already established characteristics of their characters, they just end up, and ends up not being nearly as popular. So with as accurate as Aquaman is to the source material, so it's just kind of evidence to show that if you stick to your source material, these characters have been around for so long for a reason, because people like them, they're well written. So why would you go and change it? I just don't understand the logic. So people want, I think I worded this, or I stated this on like a social media platform or something, where I say that the writers and directors, they want their own story, but they want to use the clout of the already established characters to get that story out. So they drastically change things, and they don't really care because it's their baby, it's their character, rather than like creating a detective vigilante movie. Christopher Nolan made a Batman movie, which he could have done the same exact story just without using the clout of already established characters, and it's unfortunate because they end up ruining stories and characters that people already love. Yeah. So
that's just what DC has to not do anymore, is take so many artistic liberties and stick with what's already there and established, and they'll have a good movie. Like they have 2 movies already.
Yeah. And I think
3-ish.
Maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
I think that is the issue, is that they just take these creative liberties that some of them work, some of them don't. It's usually, if you can tell that it's kind of a dated story, so like just no explanation as to like Billy's past, like his parents dying versus his mom just not wanting him. It makes you feel a little bit more. It's rather than just like a plain just throwaway characters. It's okay, the characters are established. It's just this is going to give Billy motivation to actually accept his new foster family. So that creative liberty was good. Savannah and the Deadly Sins, hell no, they sucked.
Dramatic change of characters.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
Yeah.
This is a pretty long video, again, unscripted, just discussing our opinions on what we don't like about the DCEU. And for me, I am a DC fanboy, so it's people think that I will love DC either way. No, I'm excited to see something come of DC, but I am very critical because I do love DC. So if they go and change things, it's not something that I like.
True.
So
that's all. Then please, if you liked the video, or even if you didn't like the video, hit that like button for us anyway.
If you liked the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you didn't, still go ahead and do it.
Hit the subscribe button and slap that notification bell if you'd like to hear when we put out new videos. Comment down below on what you think of the DCEU and your thoughts about it, or even the thoughts of what we said.
So, one of my biggest goals with the YouTube channel was to be able to create conversations with people that we don't already have conversations with,
right,
to try to expand the discussion. We were actually pretty successful talking about the Avengers Endgame with strangers on Facebook,
yeah,
and to me that was great. So if you and your friends enjoy this type of content, please just comment down there, give us your opinions on the DCEU, and we'll just have a fun discussion and share it with your friends so that we can
all of your
include
nerdy friends that have conversations ready to go.
Yeah. So we can just continue that conversation. We're a community. We should act like one and start conversing.
That's right.
So I think that's it for us.
Otherwise, thanks for watching.